Kirkle Math. Wonderful to see you again. We are going to go ahead and look at 9.3. I know we kind of skipped 9.2, but it's because we did it earlier in the year with prime factorization. If I have time, I can record another video on it, but we'll see. But we're here with 9.3 and we're doing order of operations. Now, you may have learned about order of operations in elementary school, so this should be adding on as well as kind of developing a deeper understanding of it and solving some complex math problems, okay? But we're going to go over it again, what order of operations is, why we need it, and we are going to also introduce a different way to remember the order, which I like to use, which is called GEM-DOS, and I'll explain what that is here in a second. All right, so in class, you were to get either a problem that said 3 times 9 plus 7 that said multiply first, or 3 times 9 plus 7 that said add first. And you were supposed to solve the problem the way it told you to solve, and then talk to a partner who did it differently. If you solve these problems different ways, you would get different answers. And we would kind of talk about, well, how do we know who's right? And the ending result should be that there's a rule that tells all mathematicians in any country, in any language, what operation you should do first and what operation you should do second, okay? This example just kind of helps show and explain why we need our order of operations, okay? So order of operations is what mathematicians have developed. I'll write it out. Is what mathematicians have developed to explain to the world what you do first, second, third, and fourth. It's kind of like a hierarchy. So think like, you know, kings, queens, peasants, dukes, kind of like that, where at the top is the most important and complex or complicated operation. And at the bottom would be the least complex, the most simple operations. And so we always want to do the most complex operations first and work our way down to the simple operations. Okay? Here is the order of operations. Now, when you were in elementary school, you may have learned about PEMDAS. PEMDAS is what we were taught a long time ago, meaning for P for parentheses. Can't spell parentheses. P for parentheses, because that's usually the most common grouping symbol that we see. However, I like to use GEMDAS or G for grouping symbols because it's not always just parentheses. You can see here that we also have these things called brackets and braces. And when we're looking at problems, parentheses, you go inside to outside. So if this said 2 plus 3 plus 7, and then you had a bracket, and then maybe this was all times 2 and then minus 5, braces would come next. And we do our operations from inside to outside. So the innermost parentheses would come first, then you would add the 7, then we would multiply it by 2, and then subtract the 5. So that's why I like to use grouping symbols. Another grouping symbol that isn't on here is a division bar, because I could have a problem that says 2 plus 3 divided by 2. And usually that division bar would tell me to do my addition up here first, then divide by 2 second. So division bars are grouping symbols, braces, brackets, and parentheses. So that's what I like to use first. So number 1 is groupings. So you want to write that down. You may have on your notes a blank one that looks like this that you're filling in, or you may have 1, 2, 3, 4 written on the side of your paper, but we're going to kind of fill these in. So the first one is G for grouping symbols, groupings. Then the second order of operations, second thing I should do is look at any exponents that there are. We're going to solve those next. Now you may notice that my organization of this kind of looks like a hopscotch. And that's because when we list them like this, GEMDAS, it makes it look like multiplication should come first and division should come second, but that is wrong. It is from left to right. From left to right. So in my problem, if I have something that has multiple addition or multiplication or division problems, so let's say it was 3 times 2 divided by 6 times 3, if I don't have any grouping symbols, I'm going to go left to right. I'm going to do 3 times 2 first, then divide by 6, then times by 3. I'm going to go from the left to the right. Okay, that is the expectation. So that's why they're kind of set up this way. This is your first step, your second step. Your third step is to look for any multiplication or division from left to right. And then your fourth step is to look for any addition or subtraction, again, from left to right. So really there are 4 steps in our order of operations, 4 levels of hierarchy. Grouping symbols are the most complex. And then addition and subtraction is our simplest operation. Okay? So make sure that you get this down, especially if you're using a blank one. And don't just write, you could just write the G, but you need to know what it means. So make sure you are writing grouping, exponents, multiplication or division, addition or subtraction. And you can actually write these out: multiply, divide, add, subtract. And then if this arrow right here doesn't make sense, make sure you write that out as well, like I did on this other one. This one, where you write it is going from left to right. And you can include these examples in your notes. I know you've got some extra space on there, but that's kind of what we're doing here. Okay, so we are going to go ahead. In this first lesson, we're really just looking at what goes first. What do I do first? Looking at problems. So we're not going to solve a lot of problems today. We're just going to look at the order. What do I do first, second, third, fourth? What do I do? So we're going to start here with an example, and then you're going to get to do some of them on the next page. Now, if we were in class, you would do this with a partner, and you guys would explain to each other and talk about it. But if you're doing this at home or reviewing, just do it with yourself, or if you have a sibling who's helping you or an adult, you can do it with them. Okay, so this is my expression right here. So we're ignoring the A. The A is just part of the lettering. This is problem A. And I'm going to look at this problem and I need to say, how would I simplify the expression? Not how do I get the answer? I want to know what's the first step? What's the second step? What's the third step? So in this particular problem, the first thing I would do is exponents. I would do that 9 squared first because my order of operations, my GEMDAS, says that there's no grouping symbols, but there is an exponent. Then the next thing that I would do is this multiplication problem right here. So I would multiply. And then the last thing I would do is add the 7. And that's kind of what you just need to do right now, is kind of lay out and explain what steps you would do first, second, third, and fourth. Right now, I don't care what 9 squared is. You could solve it, but we really want to focus on our steps, because I don't want to get hung up in the fact that maybe I don't know what 9 squared is, or I'm struggling with doing 15 times to 81. I want you just to focus on your steps, okay? That's the first step. So here is a group of problems. Pick one of these, do all of them, and start talking about what would you do first, second, or third. If I were you, I would pause the video here and work on these and then join us back so you can see what order. Okay, I'm going to talk about them. All right, if I was doing problem B, the very first thing I would do is this exponent right here. So I would do exponents. Then I would do division. And then finally, I would subtract. Okay. If I was doing problem C, I would first do parentheses or grouping symbols. Then I would do the exponents to whatever that answer was. 20 divided by 4, I would raise to the second power. And then I would multiply. If I was doing problem D, I again would do these grouping symbols first, add 5 plus 2. Then I would raise to the second power, exponents. Then, this exponent as well. Both of those exponents need to be done at the same time. And then I would subtract this 8 to the second power, take away whatever 5 plus 2 is, raised to the second power. And then finally, E, which is the most complicated, okay, I'm going to do this grouping symbol first. Okay, I'm going to do grouping. And then this grouping symbol tells me I need to solve everything that's up here first. So I am going to then do my exponents. This grouping symbol is also a division bar, so then I would divide by 7 and finally subtract from 7. And that's what I would do. All right, for the end of this video, now in class we would do this 3-minute drill. So I am going to pull up the 3-minute drill and I'm going to just set it and run it. I'm not going to talk too much. It runs for 8 seconds and it's going to show you all of these problems, and your job is just to identify what comes first. Okay, so let me pull that up for you and you guys can watch at the end for the last of this video. All right, so you're going to think quickly. You'll have 8 seconds per question to think fast. You're going to tell which operation you do first. Write an E for exponent, an M for multiplication, a D for division, an A for addition, an S for subtraction. Here you go. Tell me what you do first. Write it down. What would you do first? What would you do first? We're on number 5. What would you do first? Six. 7. 8. What operation would you do? 9. 10. We're going to do as many as we can until our time runs out. 11. 12. 13. Which operation? 14. Our time's almost up. 15, 16. Oh, and I think our time is up.